Never forget, craft will always prosper. Question goes out, how will you make your craft prosper? How will you make your impact? Never forget, craft will always prosper. Question goes out, how will you make your craft prosper? How will you make your impact?
What has your life on Hifi?
Fashion has my life on Hifi.
You're listening to Life on Hifi, the podcast, and I'm your host, Dominic Justina.
It really doesn't matter if I create a masterpiece or not. It doesn't matter who likes it. As long as I'm enjoying the process, that's all that matters.
Follow me as we talk about relationships, love, purpose, passion, you name it.
Focusing on what you have versus what you don't have can be a huge game changer.
A public expression of freedom is just, I don't know, like it was so liberating for me.
Do what you have to do.
Yeah.
Take some time off if you need to. But when all is said and done, you gotta keep moving forward.
Let's commit to living our best lives together, shall we? Welcome, Roux. How are you feeling? How you stay over there?
Feeling excellent minus the whole pandemic going on. Good. I'm good. And you?
I'm doing good. So I asked you this the first time we spoke on the phone, and I said, "Do you remember how we met?" And have you remembered? No. Okay. I will open up to it and say I probably stalked you on I think it was Twitter at the time. So you guys, if you do not know, Roux created a really great event called Imprint. And at the time when was this? 2015, 16?
Yeah.
Okay, 2016. I was definitely in Canada and I really wanted to fly back home because I was like, here's this event called Imprint. It's bringing artists together. I'm seeing art, but I'm also seeing body art. Which was pretty sick to me because I really didn't see much of that before, at least from like the local artist scene. So I was like, okay, this is risque, and this is also it's also bringing together artists. So before we even move on to that, I think I just ended up following you, and then I'm an artist myself, so you've definitely commented on my stuff before, which I appreciated, and then I feel like my spirit just led me to asking you to join the pod.
Yeah, man, I'm that type of follower. So if you post something that I think is really good, I'm gonna tell you that it's really good.
That respect for that. Okay, so let's say you're on vacation now. You wanted to go travel in October. You told me for your birthday. Let us say that you did and COVID wasn't a thing and you meet a stranger and you need to just use a few choice words to explain or share with them who you are. Not necessarily like what the societal titles are for you, but like who you are. How would you share and introduce yourself?
This is probably the toughest question you could ever ask, like in life. But overall, I think that I describe myself as pretty much just fun and fluid, and um anything that is edgy and exciting, then you can associate that with me. So that's the basis without adding any titles or anything.
Mhm.
That's the basic thing about me.
I want to touch on this because we both have shared experiences growing up in Jamaica. And I don't think self expression is celebrated enough, at least from a young age as kids. And I do notice that you're really good at expressing who you are and not being afraid to stand out, aesthetically, how you look, but also with what you do as a career, because you're an artist and you're doing graphic art now primarily. Let me know if I'm wrong, if you're doing any other thing. Yeah. um but yeah, like it's really tough, like even in schools, to wear your natural hair like is an issue. Like there's so many things that make it tough. So how did you find the energy to really put yourself out there? Not just energy, but like the courage.
And actually, when you touched on the natural hair thing, I immediately, before I answer the question, like I immediately had a flashback of growing up my hair was really, my hair is still big, but when I was really small, like a child, my hair would be like 2 times my body size. So it would be like always pinning it down, getting it under control. And I grew up like that, and then going into high school, every 2 weeks, my hair had to be, in the cane road and all them thing there. So it was, I think that contributed to when I got older. I just want to let my hair out all the time because it had been pinned down basically like my entire childhood, especially in high school, because it's considered unkempt and stuff like that. So a lot of the things that I'm very expressive and open about are things that I feel like I was much more either controlled or more conservative. So a lot of things that I didn't feel like I was allowed to explore and experience as I got into the older ages. I stepped right into it. So, and even with school, not even with just the appearance, but what you're taught in school, or even the mindset of our parents, where they're just like, okay, these are the traditional jobs and this is what you should do. So my life is basically a rebellion against all these things that I was used to hearing and used to being subject to, or just always having to hear the same things over and over and over again. So got to a point where I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do what I want.
Yeah. No, I respect that. I think when I went through something similar where the first thing I did when I migrated was cut my hair. And then after that, I was like, let me color it. I think like being like expression being suppressed, if you are meant to really express who you are, nobody can stop you. It's just timing. And if it's hard to do it now, best believe it's probably going to explode later on to come. So I can really relate to that. But I think you do a really good job with just even the way you present yourself, like not caring. Because for me, it's maybe a little bit easy because I'm in North America. I think in Jamaica, I was joking with somebody the other day, like if you look kind of different, people are not afraid to stare at you.
This for the A.
And like let you know that they're staring at you. They don't even look away. Like there's just stares. So it's still like you're still being brave. And I think you're probably inspiring people around you as well, just by the way you carry yourself.
Yeah, I have a friend that anytime I'm like hanging around with him, he's like, "You don't notice people staring at you." Someone said them not can look along because like I usually have
Wait. We probably have some listeners who don't understand what galang means.
can continue to look. That's what I mean.
They can continue. Galang meaning like go on.
Like, why do we care? So
Yeah.
yeah, it was it's probably something that I after a while I just stopped paying attention to, because a person
Yeah.
is not necessarily going to affect who you want to express yourself or want to feel. I mean, in some cases it does, sorry, because you do sometimes, you have people saying negative things about you, or stereotyping you. So it has its pros and its cons.
For sure. And I mean, but I think it all boils down to like at the end of the day, you cannot live your life for other people.
Yeah.
I want to get into your journey as an artist. So where would you say that started? Did you always know you wanted to be an artist?
No, I actually had absolutely no idea. Um, when I was young, I mean, I always knew that I was, like creative, and
Hmm.
even my father used to tell me, like as a child, like I would do something and be like, "Oh, that's so creative," and like I always made notes of the fact that I am, on the creative side of life, but and I could always draw. Like coming up, I knew that I had the ability to draw.
Hmm.
But in high school, when you get to a certain grade, it's time for you to you have to pick your subjects that will coincide with your career. And when I got to that point, I was basically advised not to do anything, that because you do have arts available, but it's not encouraged.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Was it like people in the school or like family, friends telling you not to do
more
it?
so family. So
Okay.
it's just like, okay, this is what is expected of you, or this is what you need to do. Also, there's this thing too where they're like, okay, you're intelligent, you're smarter than me. I wasn't this bright when I was in school. So why are you going to waste the brain that you have
Yeah.
on something as trivial as art? Like, go be a doctor, go be a nurse, like you have the brain for it. So that's the kind of pressure that I'd always been under, because when I was a baby, my mother used to always tell people that I knew my alphabet by I was 2.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always that pressure to fall into that place. So yeah, there was that.
That hurt my heart because the fact that, I mean, I know that things are changing slowly, but the fact that people think art is trivial when it's literally everywhere, like we cannot survive without it. And you have to be intelligent to be able to produce art that connects. And I think, I don't know, art is in everything. Like art can be fused with your interest in other things. It could be fused with math, it could be fused with health, it could be fused with tech. Like you do graphic art, which means you have to form your art and combine it with tech. So it's just interesting being from such a like vibrant culture that traditional the traditional jobs still prevail as the most respected, when clearly we've gotten really far with, for instance, music, right? But I think artists like you will help to change that. I think conversations like this will help to change that. And I don't know, one step at a time. One step at a time. But yeah, so you can
Yeah,
continue.
absolutely. I do see progress. I do see certain spaces, but I mean, when I think about even conversations that I would see online, I know that online, the people who are speaking online is just a minority. So when you step outside in the street, you have this whole complete mindset that seems like it has been the same mindset for years.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there are certain changes that I don't expect to see in my lifetime, but I do see things progressing a bit. Personally, in my family, I had to be doing things for them to say, "Oh, that's actually a thing that she can do with her life," you know. So
That's
I guess
actually a thing she can do with her life.
I guess it's also like proximity. Like I guess I'm not even it doesn't even make any sense to me really, because it's just like when I see people like completely unaware of these kind of career paths, I'm like, are you living inside of a box? Like you
Yeah.
watch TV, you animation, all that stuff is from, art. Marketing is mostly having to do with graphics.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's just in the box thinking, and that really,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, sometimes people really don't know. Like you just need to be a little bit more exposed. Or sometimes you want permission to say, like, okay, it's okay to not want to be the lawyer and not be happy with being the doctor. I had to come to that realization as well. And to be honest, as soon as I not as it took me a little time, but as soon as as I was like, okay, I will not be happy in a hospital, like
Mhm.
working every day, I ran
Yeah.
for it because I was like, my happiness over everything, like at the end of the day. At the end of the day. But so what turned you towards art then, since you sounded like you were being discouraged when you were choosing your subjects?
I went ahead and I did sciences straight up until I was graduating high school. Left high school and I did the next level. I did sciences at Cape as well, and then I
Mm.
went to UA and I was doing biotechnology, and it was the most miserable time in my life. Like every time I time to get up and go to school, it's like somebody would have to tie some rope around me and pull me. Um, and it's not
Yeah.
even just about not wanting to do it. It's more so I thought about where is it going to take me? What am I going to be doing? Okay, let's say I pull through these years and I finish. What am I going to do with this degree? Like I don't want to work in a lab. I don't want to
Mhm.
be mixing chemicals for the rest of my life. Where am I going to take this? So I just got to a point where I was just like, okay, this is not exactly the path that I want to take. And at that time, I didn't, because I was so conservative and Christian, I didn't have a Twitter account. So around when I was doing Cape and I started going to UE, that's when I made a Twitter account and I started to just socialize a bit more. I met new friends apart from my high school friends, and they were more of social butterflies. So, my popularity, I wouldn't call it popularity, but because I'm not like one of those big, but I got to know people, and then I got to know more people, and then I met people who did art. And I was like, why aren't all these people being in a space where they can be seen? Like, why do I have to come on Twitter to see all of these different people? So that's where the idea for the event came about. It was me and my friend saying that, oh, because I met people who were going through the same struggle that I was going through, whereas um there are other things that you can be a videographer, you can be a director, you can be a photographer. There are things that are normally frowned upon or deemed as more difficult to make a living from. So, and then I think about, as well, I was having a conversation with my friend recently. So she has a master's in economics, so she's an economist, and she's my best friend actually, and she was saying to me that she always tells me that, oh, I'm so proud of you, da, 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 da. And my mother always compares me to her because she has a master's. So it's just like, um, when it comes on to having a title in life, let's say I'm a nurse, you know, is it the title that makes you happy, or is it the title that you're going to use to define yourself? Or do you want to be in a place where you're just doing what you want to do, or you're just doing something that makes you happy, or you want a title? So it's just like, do I want to be doctor this for the sake of being doctor this, knowing that I'm going to be miserable the entire time? Or I cannot have one of the fancy titles and I'm quite fine, I'm doing well. So it's just two sides of that's the conversation that we had actually. So yeah, she was saying to me, it doesn't make sense you have the title if you're miserable with it. Like, what's the point?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's our problem everywhere where people feel like they have to be doing what is like deemed as successful versus like define success for yourself, first of all. And you have to be some level of self-aware in order to say like, hey, this path I'm on, I'm not aligned because I'm not happy. I'm not happy right now. Um, but you brought it up like how Imprint was originated. For folks who do not know what Imprint is, can you care to describe what that is for the people?
Right. It was basically a creative platform. So there was no limit to what kinds of creativity would be there. We'd figure out a way to add it into the show. So we had poets, visual artists. So there would be a gallery section, and musicians, musical artists. And it was more geared to upcoming people as well, who want a larger platform to perform on, or to network and socialize. So it was just a space that once you step into it, you feel alive. If you're feeling alone in a creative journey, you find other people that are doing the same thing. So that was the purpose of the space.
Wow. Okay. So that makes so much sense why I loved it so much, because one of the reasons why this podcast was birthed was like how I consider myself to be on a journey of self-mastery. Like how do I create a platform for people to have these types of conversations and recognize, hey, you're not alone. So that's really incredible that that space was brought up. How was I guess for the initial event, how was the reaction from people, or were you surprised by any of it at all?
I was actually dumbfounded. Like, I was like, actually, when we had the conversations, because it was a group of my friends, so I'll never own up to doing this all by myself. So without my friends, it wouldn't exist. And we we talked about it, and I knew that it was a lot of work, and we just did everything that we needed to do. And it was a lot of stress as well, and a lot of things went wrong. I mean, for the first event, the bar was non-existent because the guy who was supposed to run the bar, he was in a car accident the day of the show. And it was just a lot of
Stress.
madness. So
Mhm.
going even the day of the show, I was like, I don't even know if this is going to work because there were so many things going wrong. And then the people came, and it was basically amazing. So and then the feedback afterwards was like, okay, when are you going to do this again? You need to do this next year. And I was like, okay, I'll do it next year then. It was just pretty much experimental. I actually didn't intend to do it repeatedly, but since it was so successful, I was like, okay, this is a good idea.
And it's been ongoing since 2016,
Yeah.
excepting last year. Do you have any, I guess, anticipation of like when the next one could be?
I
2022?
this pandemic is so like I think it has swung us in so many different directions.
Yeah.
So within my team or my friends, and I think moving back into that would actually take a lot of shifting and moving. So it's something that I definitely have not removed from like my list of things that I want to do.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's a good answer. When I asked, I was like, "Damn, that's not a fair answer because no one knows what the heck is going on with like, and not to mention with live events." So I think that's a good answer and it's very fair. And to be honest, like as the time evolves, we're evolving. So who knows? It might not need to look the same way it did before.
With so many years in between, I'm really skeptic about if we're going to be in the place to do it again. But
Yeah.
I'm really open to it.
Well, hopefully I'll be able to experience one, whatever version of it comes up in the future. I'm very excited to be a part of that space that you've created. And I know you're out here. Like, I think, again, with my, I would say I'm just attentive. I'm not going to say I'm a creeper on socials, but I did see that you posted recently just a comment from a friend of yours saying how, I think it was something to the words of like, your art is being slept on and like the world will realize or people will come to be inspired by your art, something like that.
Mhm.
um but when I saw that, I was like, I love when people support artists in that way with that much like with their whole chest, and I knew that was coming from her heart space. So I do want to like hopefully this conversation also helps to do that. Um we spoke about Imprint. I want to ask about Roux Art House because that I don't know that much about, I have to admit. So can you explain what that is?
I actually don't refer to it as an art house anymore, but it's more so um more geared towards my personal art that I put out. So um I mean I do it's weird because I split myself. So I have work that I do for clients, and my services are available as that. So that's probably what I'd consider or I would brand as Rue because that's just me doing work. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but aside from that, um, I do tend to like to put out my own content. So whether it's body painting or digital painting, um, in whichever form that I want to put it out. And now I'm getting into animation. So
Mm.
that's more geared to just putting out content as an artist and not related to anybody else. That's just me. And I also have been thinking about doing a personal exhibition of my art and my art only. So yeah, that's the personal side of me.
Oh, the personal side. So where
Yeah.
did Rue come from? Because do you remember when I
Um,
asked you how you pronounce it? You're like Rue, like kangaroo.
yeah, like kangaroo.
Yeah.
It was I had red hair, so that's one of the bold looks that I had. When I had red
Ah,
hair,
okay.
people used to stare at me all the time. So it was a very, very bright red, and I also write poetry. So I'm not very public with that side. I'm in the poetry side. But whenever I am writing my poems, I would sign them as Celine Rue. And I had a friend that I used to share my poems with, and he used to call me Celine, and then I changed my Twitter name to it, and then my friends jump on the bandwagon of just saying Rue. Yeah, so
That
it's
is
actually
funny.
French. for red.
For red,
So
yeah.
also it's related to the red hair.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah.
that's awesome. I think it sticks. I like it. Even if you, regardless of whether you have red hair or not, I hope you keep it.
Yeah, I mean it's still there and my hair is golden. So, you know.
Yeah, for those who can't see, her hair is a bright golden. Now it's awesome like the sun. I do want to get into more of your journey. So some difficulties that you've had to overcome while establishing yourself as an artist. And I do know that you were struggling with depression and being, how did you know you were depressed and what that felt like?
I first picked it up when I was still in doing my degree. That's when I picked it up.
My personal experience being from Jamaica, mental health, illness, those things don't have a name. You have a feeling.
Will technically not feel like getting out of bed, like okay, I just don't want to do today. Today is just not existing. Let's get rid of today.